Hi, if you are the spouse of an international student who is approved for work permit, you must be confused and searching for the documents you need to carry with you while traveling or what questions you will be asked at the Canadian airport. Then this video is meant for you. This video is about immigration questions and the documents checking at the airport in Canada, especially for the spouse of an international student who is approved for work permit. So without further delay, let's start. Documents required: passport and air ticket with some photocopies. So although you have your air tickets with you, but you are suggested to carry some copies with you. Sometimes accidentally, if you lose your ticket somewhere, photocopies always help you. Correspondence letter, letter of introduction, approval letter. So these letters are very important. When I say correspondence letters, it means letter of introduction or approval letter or biometrics validity letter. So all these two letters come under the category of your correspondence letter. Marriage certificate with some evidence. When I say evidence, it means you should carry your marriage photographs or the photograph of different celebrations during your marriage process. You can also carry your wedding card with you. IELTS and PTE. If you have qualified that examination, you should carry your document. Canadian address where you are going to stay. So, you should have the address of your spouse if he or she is residing in Canada at any place. So if you are not able to remember the address, carry it with you. Medical certificate, that's also important. Now, screening questions or the questions you may be asked at the airport. Have you ever been to Canada before? So, you should always answer this question very honestly because, anyways, they have your record with them. So, don't hide anything from them. If you have visited Canada before, just you should know what month and year you visited, what was the reason of your visit, your previous visit. But if you have not visited, just say no. What type of visa do you have? So you have spouse visa, so just say. What will you do in Canada? So when they will ask you, because you are coming on work permit, you will be issued that on the airport. You can say, I will find a suitable job or I will work in Canada. How do you settle yourself in Canada? Or how do you survive the initial days in Canada? So you can answer, I will look for and apply many jobs through online job searching platforms like Indeed or Glassdoor. Do remember sometimes it takes 15 days, 1 month or 2 months to get a job. So you will just mention that for my survival in the initial days, I have the funds and I will apply ample of jobs with the prior experience I had in my country. Do you have enough funds to support you? So sometimes it takes you 1 month or 2 months to get a job. So you should provide them the evidence that you have sufficient funds. You can also say that your partner is in Canada and he or she is working. So your partner will also support you while you stay in the initial days. What is the status of your spouse inside Canada? So, you should know that if your spouse is on work permit or on study permit, you should know the status of your spouse. What is your spouse doing in Canada? So, these are just a verification question. You should know if your spouse is working. If he or she is working, where is your spouse working? What is the name of the company? What is the designation of your spouse? These things, these minute details are very important. What is the name and location of the school if your spouse is studying? So, if your partner is studying anywhere, you should know the name of the organization, name of the place, and the location. It's always good to know what your spouse is studying. What is the name of employer if your spouse is working? So, as I mentioned before, if your partner is working somewhere, you should know the name of the company, the name of or the name of the employer. What is the designation? What's the expiry date of your spouse permit? So, these expiry dates are already mentioned on the letters. You can ask your spouse for that. Where did you get married? So, it's just a sort of verification question. You can be asked on the airport that where you were married. You should name the place, for example, name of the city, name of the state, or the name of the country. How did you meet each other? So, you can tell through the online platforms or your partner visited sometimes or some point in India or you know each other for a long time. The answer depends upon your situation. When did you get married? So remember the date of your marriage. What is the date of birth of your spouse? You should remember that. What are the names of your spouse's parents? So these questions they sometimes ask you just to check the validity, or we can say if your marriage is a legal marriage. So these are a few questions that they generally ask you. You should give them a satisfactory answers for all the questions because they already have the data through the forms that you have filled before. Where does your spouse live in Canada? Again, you should know where your spouse is residing. You should have the residential address of your spouse. Can you please show me photos of your spouse? So, you should have some photographs in your wallet or your phone. If the visa officer is asking for your spouse photographs, you should have with you. Where will you go now? Who will pick you up from the airport? So you can tell them the province that where you are moving and who is coming to pick you up. Now, here are some tips that you can follow. Keep it in your mind. It will make your journey and your stay more convenient. Always check the validity of the letter of introduction and medical examination validity on the letter of introduction. So these validities dates they are all mentioned on the letter. At the airport, CBSA officer issues the work permit to the spouse of student. Therefore, due to the long queue, sometimes it takes 2 to 4 hours. Therefore, before booking a ticket, it's recommended to keep this immigration time in mind while considering connecting flight waiting time, if applicable. So, if you are taking connecting flights, it's always good to have a gap of 2 to 4 hours. But if it's a direct flight, means it depends upon your situation. Just keep this thing in your mind. Another important tip is answer CBSA officer formally, politely, and briefly. Only the questions asked. Some people try to exaggerate unnecessarily. Please don't do that. You will find yourself in trouble because sometimes trouble arises due to lack of proper communication. Next tip is always visit travel.gc.ca for the latest travel updates. That's very important, such as registration on ArriveCan app. Last step is ask the travel insurance options from your travel agent. It's always good. When you book your ticket, always ask from your agent if they have some good travel insurance options for you. Here is a sample of letter of introduction or approval letter. It will help you to check your document properly. Definitely, the list of document important questions, how to answer, along with the tips will surely help you. Have a wonderful journey. Good luck. Thank you.